Eu não estou ouvindo.
Oh. Well, I guess I can give the welcome again. All right, everybody. Yasco, thanks for joining, by the way. So good morning, good afternoon, good night. Thank you for joining another talk offered by the US Spiritist Federation. The US Spiritist Federation offers the Spiritist Talk series every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So Yasco, I'm delighted to host this talk by you. And you're going to be talking about a very interesting topic, the moral crisis, how Spiritism comes in rescue. Welcome, Yasco. Let's all give a very warm welcome.
Thank you.
Well, you're currently residing in Brazil, but you're still busy, but while residing in the US, you were a biomedical researcher in the field of neuropharmacology, and you retired recently from the University of Maryland School of Medicine, and you're currently living in Santos in Brazil. And you first got engaged as a spiritist, as a member of the Spiritist Society of Baltimore, and you were involved in several activities such as children and youth activities, outreach programs, study groups, and providing lectures at the Spirit Society of Baltimore, and also in other Spiritist organizations as well. And you're still connected to the Spiritist Society of Baltimore and to the US Spiritist movement, and of course, that's why you're here. Now in Santos, you're an active member of the Centro Espírita Chico Xavier, and you're participating in lectures and groups. So, and Yasco, we're eager to hear your lecture, but just as a reminder, please make sure that you send your questions and comments in the chat window. Yasco has reserved time to address any comments or questions that you might have. Yasco, thanks again, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Glass. Thank you all, the organization, Tanya, for inviting me, all her supporting crew, technical crew. Thank you so much for the honor of being here again to talk to you. The theme of this morning, afternoon, or evening, it is the moral crisis and how the Spiritism comes to rescue, how Spiritism is the way out of this crisis. This theme is a chapter from the book After Death by Léon Denis. And I will present some background, some historical background, the events, the religious abuse, and also the sign against the science philosophy, and now the surgence, the appearance of science. Again, science also commit all the mistakes, all the abuses, which end up in this moral crisis at the time of Kardec. So here in the front, let me share. Okay. I quote one little phrase, which is very important about Léon Denis. He says, in the Spirit's book, I found a clear, logical solution to the universal problem. Universal problem. It's not only for human being in this planet Earth. It's the universe where whatever other inhabitants are living there, going through trials, expiations, through the evolutionary path up to the state of pure spirits. So he says, in the Spirit's book, I found a clear, logical solution to the universal problem. My conviction became firm. The Spiritist theory dispelled my indifference and doubts. Léon Denis. We hope all we Spiritists can come one day to be convinced like Léon Denis and say this about the role of Spiritism in our evolution, in our progress. Okay, let's say a little bit about the author, Léon Denis. He was born in Folk, France, January 1st, 1846. So he's in the middle of the century, so much younger than Kardec. And he lived around 80 years. So he died in Tours, France, April 12, 1927. So Léon Denis was a self-taught. He didn't have a regular education, but he was self-taught person. Complete what I call primary school, can be up to, I don't know, elementary school. I don't know how it is presented, the system in France. At the age of 12, having contact with the Spirit's doctrine at 18 when reading the Spirit's book. They say he was walking through the streets of Tours and saw in this big display of the Spirit's book, and he got caught by attention to this book, and he could not stop reading. He was a philosopher, writer, and one of the main Spiritist activists, alongside Gabriel Delany and Camille Flammarion in the first decades after the Allan Kardec death. So those three, Léon Denis as a philosopher, Gabriel Delany, and Camille Flammarion as a cosmologist, they all have this role to maintain the light of the Spiritism in Europe after Kardec died. So his fidelity to the principles of the Spirit's doctrine and his impetus in disseminating it made him known as the Apostle of the Spiritism. In 1925, he was acclaimed president of the International Spirits Congress in Paris, in which the International Spiritist Federation was formed. You see how active he was. At this Congress, they wanted to remove the religious aspect of Spiritism, but Denis, despite his advanced age, tenaciously opposed to it. Remember that France, especially France, was passing through this phase of denying everything that was religious because they had suffered so much abuse from the Catholic Church. Even those that started to follow the new Protestant church, they were massacred, like the night of Saint Bartholomew massacre, that the Catholic queen, Catherine de' Medici, decided to kill the whole Protestant families that were there in a wedding of her daughter. So and plus all the abuse from the Dark Age, the Crusades, the Inquisition, all this abuse against other faith like Muslim, the Judaism. So the Catholic Church especially made a lot of wars, including that made as the humanity starts to grow its reasoning, the science starts to come and to prove And the philosophy also, people start to join much more rationally to the discussion. They start to see something was wrong with that. So they start they went to this extreme side, denying all the religion, and with this, they deny God, they deny the spirituality, religiosity, all together, which made a big vacuum there. So, but Denis, let's talk a lot what Denis thought about the Spiritist book. It's very interesting. At the very moment when materialism reached its peak, see, so with the science, technology, the materialism boomed, and that reached its peak, and the idea of nothingness spread everywhere. A new belief emerged, supported by facts. It offers thought a refuge where knowledge of the eternal laws of progress and justice is found. So it had to come a rational doctrine to pass a faith based on reasoning in order to catch the attention of those that were becoming skeptical of the old religious systems. How this book was born after that by Léon Denis. So Léon Denis, he had also got in contact with the FEB, what our Brazilian Federation, Spirits Federation, and he was very supportive of our movement in Brazil. You know, they had exchanged many news about the propagation in the Congress. And so Léon Denis even represented Brazil in this Congress in Paris. So Léon Denis, one of the most active promoters of the Spiritist doctrine, participated in the International Spiritualist Congress. So he's a spiritualist. Many other branches of spiritualism were present, not only the Spiritism of Kardec, all the branches were there, held in Paris in 1889. So he responded to a request of a work with a more popular and synthesized approach to the Spiritist doctrine. So the other spiritualists said, look, it's more difficult for us to read the Spiritist book. Can't you just summarize in a way with a more popular language, you know, for us to reach more public? And Léon Denis, because he was active, he already noticed that he needed to do this. So he was already working in this book after that when came this request. So he quickly published this book next year, 1890. So he says, this book summarized the Spiritist doctrine with depth, but simplicity, poetic beauty without prolixity, comprehensive but faithful to Kardec's work. So if you had the opportunity to read this book, it's so beautiful, the language, the style that Léon Denis uses to present in other way the Spiritist doctrine. To whom he aimed to present this book. He says, we believe our duty is to summarize in these pages in a different form to reach those who are tired of living like a blind people, ignoring themselves, those who are no longer satisfied with the works of a material and entirely superficial civilization, but who aspire to a higher order of things. So he didn't aim to present this book to those that say, well, I'm happy like this, I don't need to change, my life is so nice, I have everything that will make me happy. I have everything. So why I have to start to look for another force, another pleasure, presence of God? Or no, I don't need. To those is not even the Kardec says the spirit's codification is not for those the skeptical, those that are happy the way they are, those that they don't care about anything else. They don't. So Léon Denis says, is for those that aspire to a higher order of things, those that are awakening. It is above all for you, sons and daughters of the people, for whom the journey is rough, the existence difficult, for whom the sky is blacker, the wind of adversity colder. It is for you that this book was written. As he said, suffering, pain awakens us to a new force, to a new power, because either the old religion or the new science are not relieving, consoling those people that are in suffering. And the dedication he makes in this book is very beautiful. So I'm going to read it. To the noble and great spirits who revealed to me the august mystery of destiny, so future, the law of progress in immortality, whose teachings consolidate in me the feeling of justice, the love of wisdom, and cult of duty, whose voices dispelled my doubts, appeased my concerns, to the generous souls who supported me in the struggle, consoled me in the trial, and raised my thought to the luminous heights of which the truth rests. I dedicate these pages. How Denis was thankful for have met the spirit's codification. So let's present the layout of this book. To the left, you're gonna see all the parts of this book. After that, to the right, you're gonna see the parts of the Spirit's book. So the part one of after that is belief and denials. So correspond to this to the many parts of the Spirit's book, mainly the Genesis. Part two, the great problems. It's related practically entirely to the first causes, part one of the Spirit's book, or and the Genesis. Part three, the invisible world, correspond to the Spirit's word in the Spirit's book and the medium's book, of course. Part four, beyond the tomb, correspond to hopes and consolations in the Spirit's book, or heaven and hell, the fifth book of the fourth book of the codification. And part five, the straight road, correspond to the moral laws and the gospel according to Spiritism. So Léon Denis made sure to be very faithful to the contents of the Spirit's codification. So let's go very quickly throughout this first part, which is belief and denials, which end up in the last chapter of this part to the moral crisis, for us to understand why we end up in this crisis. So way before, in 2,000, 3,000 years before AC, that we have those old ancient religions especially in India, that came out in India, the Hinduism, the Buddhism, in Egypt, in Greece, in Gallia, the Celts and Druids, the Christianity, which engulfed the Judaism as a monotheist doctrines. And then Denis talk about the rise of materialism, positivism, and the moral crisis. So, what was the secret doctrines or the hidden, the occult doctrines? All these very ancient religion, Hinduism, Buddhism in Egypt, in Greece, even Christianity and Judaism, especially Judaism, they had this. They say one part was for the public, for the general public. And the other depth of the study or the presentation of the information was for a very reserved group, so-called the initiates. So the initiates, they knew all the secrets of the fluids, the magnetic forces. They knew about somnambulism, everything that the Spiritism brought in 1800 to the general public. Up to that, only these initiated had the opportunity to know about this. So the general public was only limited to what those that were in power decided to present in order to keep the people controlled, limited to what they decide they should know. And we know the consequence of this. Look, in the Christianity, how much they have hidden things and put in place this God that is all punishing, the horrible notion of having and hell and having been so limited in a wrong way to those that were the chosen ones. So they took advantage of the ignorance that they put the whole general people in terms of this transcendental view of these divine forces in order to control, while they were having somehow the chances to know that. Thanks to the Spiritism and the growth of our intellectuality, the rise of the writing, the press that could print, give some printing of the Gospels with Lutheran, with Calvinism, that became more available to the regular general people, thus raising the rebelliousness against the old forces, the old power. So that was an awakening. Wait a minute. So it's not all what they had given to us throughout all this millennia, through the Dark Age, using the wars in name of God to suppress, to kill people. This is not what was from the beginning, in the core of this all religion. So if you go to Hinduism, Buddhism, all this what was available in the Vedas, chant, we're gonna see it's all matched with the Spiritist principles. But at that time, either the people won't be able to grasp intellectually, but was purposely put in darkness because those in power wanted to control the people. We know all how Jesus was prosecuted, right? Jesus came exactly when to unveil for the first time how the Judaism at his time, how the doctors of the law, how the Pharisees were controlling the people, abusing the power to get all the good, even material goods, financial gain in it from the enslaved people by the Roman Empire. So Jesus came exact for this, and because he unveiled that, the hypocrisy, he was killed. So let's see here what is written in chapter 6. It's just very short um, uh, paragraph that I put it here. According to history, it is in the desert on the journey of the Hebrew people enslaved for centuries in Egypt. So the journey from Egypt towards the promised land in Canaan, guided by Moses and God. Remember, Moses said that he talked directly with God and brought those 10 commandments directly by the voice of God, written in those stones by God. So they were guided by Moses and God. So they were guided that the belief is in the one God. So the belief in one God, the monotheism, was appeared throughout this migration, exodus of Hebrew people to the promised land. Of course, if the Christianity came from the Judaism, it was consolidated with the coming of Jesus to the planet Earth. So we all know it happened, all the diaspora, the dispersion of the Jews, for them being persecuted by the Roman Empire. But the good side was that this dispersion helped the Judaism, the doctrine to be, the monotheism to be spread to distant regions from Palestine, going towards the west, and also the Christianity reaching the Gentile people with the work, the journeys of Paul of Tarsus. But as the Roman power grows and expands, we and being engulfed, being put as a instrument of the Roman Empire, became the Roman Catholic Church in the 3rd century by the Emperor Constantine. As this corruption starts to grow, because now politics mingled with the religion, we witness the secret doctrine, that pure secret doctrine retreat and lose its authority. So they were banned. True initiates are rare. The lamp of the Egyptian sanctuaries goes out. The oracles in Greece are silent. In place, superstition, idolatry invade the temples. How sad. And we saw all this through the Middle Age, Dark Age. So then in chapter 7, there is this chapter about materialism and positivism. So how to fight against the religious suppression and abuse, it came the materialism. Of course, science was progressing since the centuries earlier, of course, but they were always chased, prosecuted, if their findings were against the interests of the church. Many scientists, many philosophers, scientists like Giordano Bruno were put in the fire, or Galileo almost, but he died with natural causes. So and also the sorcerers were also put to as a martyr because they were against the the interest of the church. So, what is the criticism that Denis put it here? The positivist schools contribute to enrich certain brains of human knowledge, but they lost sight of the whole of the things and the superior laws of the universe. So, what they were criticized, they also commit the same problem, same abuse. After having proclaimed the experimental method by Auguste Comte as the only way to the truth, disprove themselves by denying a priori all types of psychic manifestation. So the materialism was based in science, which only used our five senses, with the help, of course, of the instruments to enhance their front. However, the psychic manifestation, they had no way using these five senses to study. So they denied. They disapproved. They said this doesn't exist. So they commit the same mistakes and errors that the church was making by denying that the sun was the center of the system and not the earth, etc. So they already are also in the same track. So it's human being. We are still imperfect. We are still trying to see things and accept things that our eyes cannot see. But the reasoning says we should accept. So just like the most intolerant men of the church, they show the same precepts and the same disdainful incredulity facing this fact. So the psychic manifestation. So as I said, science, technology really made, help to develop the materialistically the planet Earth, which gave conditions for us to develop ourselves, our intellectual, our journey. However, was only limited to those that could buy, could be that those advancements were available. How many people in this planet Earth are not yet, they cannot have the vaccine, some cultural incentive, some social goods, humanitarian help. How many this health, basic health care, educational health help is not reaching most of the people. So the problem was only limited, all this advancement, to the smaller, selfish public. The search for transient pleasure has deluded human beings with false paradise, creating subterfuge in illicit and illicit drugs. So in the panel down, lower down panel, you see what we see today. All the drug addiction by the illicit and illicit drugs, right? Painkiller that was licit now is abused. All the consumerism, all the economic crisis, the increase in pollution, wars, violence, corruption, uncertainties, hunger, political crisis, and hopelessness. So people got hopeless, disgusted, no way to go out from this crisis. Thus, the human spirit swings undecidedly between the demands of two colossal forces. So still the religion hanging around with these dogmas, even nowadays, how many follow the dogmas, although it doesn't make sense. with its dogmas and ills, arising from man's greed and transitory power, and the other side, the materialistic deepening of science that ignores everything that escapes the purely human senses. So we are in this vacuum. Suddenly, no ground for believing God, believing the divine force, and no ground for the goodness of materialistic views or goods. So in the book, the Genesis, chapter 4, there is what Kardec wrote about the role of science in Genesis, not in the book, in the Genesis. All religions, see how bad this is, how all religions agrees as to the existence of the soul, without, however, demonstrating it. They are not in agreement as to the soul's origin, nor its past or its future, especially as to the conditions upon which its future fate depends. Most of them impose on the beliefs of their followers a picture of the soul's future that could only be accepted on blind faith because it cannot hold up under serious examination. Well, we start to be more reasonable. Science and our intellectual growth made us not be blind anymore. So, of course, we cannot accept anymore this faith based on blind faith, the religion that is based on blind faith. And he says, so the religion, it does, while not denying this existence of soul, but they don't say to where I was before, how am I going to, what I should do in this existence in order to assure a good future, a good discarnation, a good life in the spiritual world. They don't say. From the disagreements concerning the future of the human being, both doubts and disbeliefs have arisen. However, this belief has left a painful emptiness. Their conscience tells them there is something beyond the present. But what? Science has pulled back a corner of the veil, but no one has answered about the matters of the future life, throwing people frantically into the things of the material life, the material illusion. Thus is the unavoidable effect of the times of transition. The edifice of the past collapses, but that of the future has not yet been built. So we all know, he said, that we are in the transition time, going through the world of transition from the world of trial and the expiation to the world of regeneration. So it's all upside down. All the people seems that they don't understand why the goodness cannot prevail. Why, when I try to do something good, something bad enters in the middle, the bureaucracy, the laws, and the unseen things appears in front of me, holding me to do sometimes even the good. So is the presence of the people or the spirits that is having the last chance now before the earth go to the other level to see if they can still be considered to develop, to progress in the planet Earth, or they go down to the primitive state, Earth world. And until now, the spiritual principle. So before in the Genesis, religion doesn't answer about the future of my soul. The science doesn't present any answer. And they say, until now, the spiritual people principle study in metaphysics was purely speculative and theoretical. In Spiritism is experimental with the help. So metaphysics also doesn't help, but the Spiritism is experimental with the how? With the help of the faculty of mediumship. Humans are now in possession of a new instrument of observation. Mediumship has been for the spirit world what the telescope has been for the heavenly world, for the cosmology, to unveil the trillions of galaxies, and the microscope for the infinitely small world, the bacteria, the virus, all these small things. So the mediumship has enabled humans to explore the spiritual world relations with this corporeal world. While I am in this corporeal world, how can I communicate with the people that are in the spiritual world? What can I learn from them and prepare myself here while in the corporeal world to have a better entry to the other side of the world, the spiritual world. So he says, once established the relationship with the inhabitants of this spirit world, it was finally possible to follow the soul in its evolutionary ascent, its migration, and its transformation. This is wonderfully put it in the heaven and hell with all the cases that Kardec brings of the spirits that had incarnate and were willing to come in their mediumistic meeting in the society, Parisian society, to say, look, I suffer because I did this in the previous corporeal life. I am happy. How did you live in the? He says, yeah. So Kardec made the conclusion that depends on how I live. The values that I planted during my corporeal incarnation last will dictate how will be my conditions, my mind, my thought, my relationship with the spirits that are already there in the spiritual world. Am I be persecuted? Am I be chased? Or I will be welcomed by my familial spirit, my benevolent helper, and that spirits that have been following me, helping me throughout so many incarnations. So once I accepted I learned about this, now I can understand how I will be ascend my evolutionary path, all the migration between worlds and its transformation. So the chapter 8 ends up in the moral crisis. Religion, that is the clash between religion and the spiritism, create this moral crisis in the 18th, 19th century. So he says, Léon Denis, in the midst of this confusion of ideas and clashes of religion versus materialistic science, conscience has lost its compass and its route, creating a true moral crisis. If the progress made in the physical and intellectual order is notable, we all note this. All this good, all this wonderful internet, all the wonderful air condition, all the gadget, everything wonderful was notable, was good, improved the life, prolonged the lifespan of people too. The medical discoveries, the surgical technology, everything was good. But the moral advance is on the contrary, no. Look how tough he is. No, he's not to say, oh, didn't grow as much as should. No, no. At this point, the world seems to retreat. It seems it's going backwards. Human societies feverishly absorb the political issue. People are killing, even in Brazil, because of political issues. Industrial and financial activities, they rob each other, they pull the rug, they make people go even to suicide mode, suicide because they made some move that sacrifice their gain. So he says, feverishly absorb the political issue, industrial financial activity, sacrificing their moral interest to material well-being. So I'm exchanging. I don't care anymore about moral interest. If I should remove my pride, my selfishness, if I'm good, I'm having all the material goodness, I am here, enjoying, why not? Without a doubt, it was possible to a certain extent to improve conditions of existence, but it multiplied needs in order to satisfy them. Whetting appetites and desires favored sensualism and increased depravity. So, while I am in this illusion of materialism, forget even family members, forget the neighbor. I am happy, I am having this pleasure, but I need to multiply it. It's a vice, is addiction, is like a gambling. So consumerism, gambling, this need to have more and more and more to satisfy their pleasure. And we have, unfortunately, we have in our mid of our brain a region that responds to this pleasure and make this as a vice addiction. We have that because it's a survival mode somehow to have this area in the brain, but not for these new things, which is drugs, gambling, consumerism, etc. The two powers, religion without proof, science without ideals, fight each other without being able to overcome each other, to give hands. They are fight one against one. You cannot be in the same place I am, and vice versa. Around numerous crushed hopes and aspirations, generous feelings weakened, division, hatred replace benevolence and concord. Everything that Jesus taught us, benevolence, indulgence, pardon, concord, in the Sermon on the Mount, forgot it. The materialism starts to blind in its way, the same way the religion made this. The consequences of this conflict are felt everywhere in the family, in education, and society. Both science and religion no longer know how to strengthen souls or arm them from the battles of life. So, if now we are out of this illusion of materialistic goods, I am in a state that religiosity, spirituality was put down. I am skeptical. I don't believe in God, in any other force. I'm suffering. The family start to ruin. There is the rise of the suicides, the rise of the number of depression, people suffering with depression, anxiety. We are filled with this. It was an exponential growth of these psychological, emotional problems. But because we don't have, before we could even hold, even blindly, in a force, divine force. But now, no, I don't, I understand that this is not true. And the science didn't replace. One edifice is put down, but the other is not constructed yet. I am the vacuum. How will humanity emerge from this state of crisis? Is the heart and the brain has to give hints. We cannot separate this as it has been up to now. There is only one way to achieve. That's what Denis says. Find a ground of conciliation where these two enemy forces, sentiment and reason, can unite for the good and salvation of all. Every human being has within himself these two forces, under whose empire he thinks and acts. And such agreement brings balance and harmony to the faculties, increases the means of action 100-fold, and gives life rectitude, unity of tendencies and views. So I can reconcile tendencies and views if I have sentiment. I need the brain because without the intellect, I cannot reason. But I need the heart in order to understand entirely the human being in its progress, still in an imperfect situation, to trying to grow, trying to progress. So we are together. So we have to understand each other with the sentiment and with the intellect. And in the Spiritism, where will the light, so that's the question, Denis put, where will the light, salvation, and upliftment come from? Not from the church, because it is powerless to regenerate the human spirit, neither from science, as it is not concerned with character or conscience, but only with what hurts the science. So science only cares about what I can view, analyze with my senses. And everything that makes hearts great, society strong, dedication, virtue, the passion for good cannot be appreciated through the senses. I cannot go to the lab and put in a microscope or do some chemical reaction in order to unveil how good the person, what virtue is this person carrying, the goodness. Nowadays, we are starting through the image while analyzing the character, personality of the person, the tendency for goodness, for the charity, how the brain lights up, what region of the brain lights up. So it's starting to be more using the senses with the help, visual sense with the help, of course, with the material technology. To raise the moral level, to stop both the superstition and skepticism, a new concept of the world and life is necessary, which is based on the study of nature and conscience, on the observation of facts, the principles of reason. Look, we were better off way before 2,000, 3,000 years ago, before Christ, when we observed the nature, the cosmos, how the plants, animals go in cycle of destruction and construction and progress. But with the coming of this, the reasoning, the intel and the science technology, we decide not to observe anymore. We want to measure in the lab. So what is needed is the teaching from which an incentive for improvement, a moral sanction and uncertainty for the future can be deduced. So we need a doctrine that gives us an incentive for inner reform, moral sanction, and the certainty that I have a future based on what I do presently. We need that doctrine. And what doctrine is that? To the left, you have some books of the codification. This concept and this teaching already exist, Denis says, and are becoming more common every day. Amid the disputes and rambling of the schools, a voice was heard, the solemn voice of the dead. They stood up on the other side of the tomb, more alive than ever. And before their instructions, the veil that hid the future life from us was revealed. That's why it's a revelation. The doctrine codification is a revelation. Their teachings comes to reconcile all opposing systems, make a new flame sprout from the rubble, from the ashes of the past. In the Spiritist philosophy, we find the occult doctrine that covers all ages, that occult, sacred, secret doctrines from the past is now presented by the Spiritist philosophy to all people, not anymore to only to the initiates. And Emmanuel presents in these two books, The Human Progress, The Two Wings, which I brought a little sentence in this book, Thought and Life. I have already said to you that two wings will lead the human spirit to the presence of God. One is called love, and the other wisdom. Love, heart, wisdom, mind. Throughout love, we value our lives for life. Throughout wisdom, we are valued by life. Be careful, wisdom. We're going to be valued by this. Hence, the imperative of marching together, intelligence and kindness. And in this book, Consolador, the Consoler, by Emmanuel II, Chico Xavier, question 204. Will the human soul be able to rise to God only with moral progress, without intellectual values? Because we came to swing to the other. First it's only intellectual, now, only moral. No, he says, feeling and wisdom are the two wings with which the soul will rise to infinite perfection. In the narrow circle of the terrestrial orb, both are classified as moral advancement and intellectual advancement. But as we are examining the values of the world in particular here, Earth, we must recognize that both are essential to progress, and it's fair. However, to consider the superiority of the first about the second, so the moral over the intellect, we should consider this. Moral is more important than the intellect if we need to choose, because the intellectual part without the moral can offer numerous perspectives of fall. It's dangerous in the repetition of experience, while the moral advancement will never be excessive, representing the most important core of evolutionary energies. So the moral is important. But however, humanity are advancing first in the intellect and is lagging of moral. That is the danger that we are in now. We think we can overcome everything by intellect, by science, technology, forget about our morality. And in this book, Genesis, chapter 18, the time has come. Look, we are in the transition, and now we are about to enter in the world of regeneration, not the world of regenerated. We will have the same body, the same problems with the physical, but we will understand better why we're suffering. The expiation will be less frequent, less severe, because we will reconcile immediately after we make a mistake with our neighbor. We don't wait until reborn again, etc., etc. So he says, Kardec, we say that our globe, like everything else, is subject to the law of progress. It progresses physically through the transformation of the elements that compose it, and morally through the purification of incarnate and discarnate spirits that populate it. Both areas of progress accompany each other and march in parallel. So let's read here. Morally, humankind progresses by the development of intelligent moral sense and softening of custom. Up till now, humankind has made incontestable progress due to the intelligence humans have achieved results never reached before regarding the science, arts, material well-being. There is much progress yet to be made, however. They have yet to make charity, fraternity, and solidarity reign amongst them to assure their moral being. Charity, fraternity, solidarity. That requires moral virtues. Another sign, no less characteristic of the period into which we are entering, is the obvious reaction occurring in the sense of spiritualistic ideas. An instinctive rejection is manifest against materialistic ideas. There are more people going against already because they're suffering. And where emptiness is felt, people unconsciously seek something, a point of support, a hope. The new generation will thus march towards the fulfillment of all humanitarian ideas compatible with the degree of advancement at which it will have arrived. With Spiritism going forward with the same goal and accomplishing its purpose, both will meet. So human being progress and the Spiritism will meet the same ground. Progressive individuals will find the Spiritist ideas a powerful lever, and the Spiritists will find in these new people minds entirely predisposed to accept it. All harmony in the future. So finishing, sorry, I'm a little bit over. If men knew, this is Denis, the extent of the resources that germinate within him, perhaps he would be dazzled, and instead of considering himself weak and fearing the future, he would understand his strength. He would feel that he himself can create that future. Thank you very much. Hi, sorry. I think I'm not.
I'm back. I keep trying to be very polite and mute myself, but I should have been mute myself. So again, thank you, Yasco, for all the reflections that you provided to us. And please stay with us for the Q&A session. Yasco, we do have some questions and comments for you. First of all, I'd like to point out to the Introduction to Mediumship. It's a virtual free course for beginners. The US Spiritist Federation is thrilled to invite individuals eager to explore the realm of Spiritist communication according to Spiritism. So check the video course at learn.spiritism.us, or you can scan the QR code that is shown right there on the flyer. And coming up also, save the date for the 18th US Spiritist Symposium, and it's going to be on September 21st, 2024 in Boston. The theme is going to be Life Through the Lens of Immortality, Philosophy of Spiritism. So another great symposium. Hard to believe that is already the 18th. Also, the US Spiritist Federation offers a podcast like series, Psychology and Spirituality, A Bridge to a Better Life, based on the works by Joanna De Angelis. And a new episode is available every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern. And it's available on both YouTube and Spotify. Also, Be My Hope is available, is a Spiritist app. It's available now on the App Store or Google Play and offers uplifting content in a collection of videos, daily messages, and audio materials. So you can download it now. And it's interesting, Yasco, that you did mention all the great things that, all the positive things and great things that technology offers to us through our different gadgets. And if you want to, well, there's a sprinkle here code. If you want to help Spiritist Federation, yes, right there. So if you want to help with all the different programs and projects that the Spiritist Federation is engaged with, feel free to help them financially. All right, Yasco. So we have
Hi.
questions for you, but nothing you cannot handle. First of all, as a scientist, what is your advice for other researchers who have a passion for science but who also want to embrace Spiritism?
Well, you have to ask where the science is developed most, of course, and see how that culture, what are the values of that culture. So up to now, as United States was the big lead in the modern science, and those that live there knows everything goes around profit, how you publish your work. So how well you give profit dictates how you're going to be financed. And the main financial institution in United States, like in Brazil too, are government from the government or institution that is ruled by this cultural aspect of the country. So if you don't have ways to be financed your research, you cannot survive in science. Not in the mainstream science that is done in the first class universities, in NIH especially. So that's how and who is the committee? Who is dictating what areas will be sponsored? The human beings, part of that culture. So that's we are up to now in this problem. So I always thought that in the medical area that I was involved, I thought why the health insurance company won't support more integral or science outside of this mainstream that would englobe more other areas, including the role of the spirit, the emotion, the psychological view, and the exchange with the spiritual world, etc. Why I think like this? Because the powerful branch of the health insurance company, they would like us to be healthier in an integral way, integrative way, putting spiritual, physical, mental, emotional all together. That means alternative medicine. So if they support this, the cost will go down because we're gonna be much more preventive. we're gonna eat better, we're gonna exercise better, we're gonna catch the medical problem way before the effects are already fully developing the physical body, which needs this allopathic treatment with drugs, with immunological components, etc., which is already when the health, the disease was already way established and costs a lot and is not effective. So the prevention, in my view, could be much cheaper. But the mainstream science, the institution, NIH, etc., won't, is not yet interested in this.
Hmm.
But they could, this institution could think, well, there is this mediumship abilities, faculty that may be having some role instead schizophrenia by itself, mental problem by itself. It can be just a spiritual exchange. I mean, so this is not. This may be. They may be open. So few rich people, of course, had supported some outside of the mainstream research, like I think it was the wife of the owner of the Xerox company, whatever. One time they were supporting financially. So all this, I think, it needs to grow. And I think once the sciences start to open up their mind, not be limited like they criticize the religion, they can say, look, not all that I don't see, I cannot hear, I cannot touch, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I should be open to the existence. Because I could not see more than billions of stars, they always stay there. They were always there. So we have to be humble. But you see, while you are building up your career, you go through the way that is more profiting to me to raise my family. I can understand that. I can understand that, you know. So we need to have other venues for financing our job, our research. Otherwise, we cannot survive as a scientist, unfortunately.
Interesting. Okay, so you gotta still think about the culture and the environment where they're in, but again, keep in mind your spiritual, all the possibilities of interjecting some of the spiritual or spiritual
You know who is going to
into.
demand the change? It's the public.
Hmm.
When a patient goes to the doctor, I know you don't believe, but I believe, and I want you to act accordingly. Oh, I don't believe that prayer will. But I believe I want you to pray with me. And I want you to allow my people to pray for you during the surgery. And of course, God has the way to awake more quickly. So you have great neuroscientists or neurosurgeons that have this experience of after death, near death experience. And he brought his testimony. And he was a well accepted person in the mainstream. Imagine neurosurgeon that is all abilities technical, doesn't need to think about the whole human being. It has to be technical, technically precise, skilled, but he's forced to testimony the test that his experience. So there is that other professor that I don't remember I forgot his name, that Dibald went to Yale. He also had experience. So of course you can lose your reputation in this scientific community. That's why William Crookes, he was in the top of the Royal Society in England. He could not got accepted in the document all his experience with the mediumship, with the Kate King and Frank. What is the name of the? So he got all the facts that mediumship, the communication with the spirits was real. He presented there in a session. Where are you going to find that? It's very difficult to find out because they were afraid that the Royal Society would be criticized, banned, because now they are not so scientific. Imagine.
Yasco, we're really running low on time.
Yeah.
We had some amazing questions, but we are only going to be able to address one more question before we finalize.
Okay.
Comes from the International Spiritist Council. How can we interpret the role of religion in our everyday lives compared to that of science and philosophy?
Well, I think we have to be conscious that none of those have the power, the entire power. The religion per se blindly cannot help me as was in the past, I thought in the past. And also the illusion of science and philosophy, I think we have to find the middle ground. Be rational, separate what is religion from religiosity, spirituality. I have to have spirituality and religiosity on me so I can rationally converse, talk to the high spirits, and ask for help. And so don't have the illusion that science will respond, like Denis said, to all my necessity, my health problem, my pain. No. And philosophy also are still not answering the future life or the life after this life. So we have to be more or less in the middle, like the Buddha said, and willing to accept those two forces in an equal way in order for me to grow together with the religiosity and with the scientific discoveries.
That is very interesting. Yasco, again, thank you very much. Thank everybody who tuned in. And I either tuned in today or we're going to watch later. So again, just as a reminder, the series continues, and next Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Do not miss our next great lecture, which is going to be provided by Regeni Planner. She's going to be discussing challenging science, the transport phenomena. So stay tuned. Yasco, would you be so kind to say the final prayer for us?
Sure, thank you. So let's concentrate ourselves to ease our mind, to get our thoughts, our sentiments in the best level, in order to first be grateful to God for allowing, out of His mercy, its mercy, the reincarnation as a way of our progress in the planet Earth. To our Master Jesus, our guide, our model, for having given to us 2,000 years ago the teachings of love, compassion, equality, fraternity. And to all the spirits, benevolent spirits, protective spirits, familiar spirits that have being accompanying us throughout many, many incarnations, guiding us, inspiring us, warning us to be vigilant. Our great gratitude for your work, for your perseverance, especially in times we are all in trouble. We all deny your presence, that we are in a deep sleep. Thank you so much for always being with us. And our gratitude for the moment that we have now with friends that share the same views, the Spiritist doctrine, the views put in all the books of Chico Xavier, Divaldo Franco, Ivone do Amaral Pereira, André Luiz, ascertain to us that there is a life after this. And whatever we can do, the goodness here will be transferred to the next state of life. So thank you for all the company of the USSF, all the Spirit Center in Brazil, in the whole world, for being together in this movement in order to spread a way to get out from the crisis that are around every one of us in this time of transition. Thank you so much for everything that we got, and so be it.